But today we are going to talk about how the role of a global procurement leader, or how does global procurement really work in organizations that are changing so rapidly. As we all know, that procurement is not just a cost focused function anymore. It's actually moving to capability driven strategies. The procurement teams now, or the procurement leaders, have a seat on the table which they talk about strategies for the long run as against just deciding what to do today and what not to do today. Organizations are actually reimagining procurement as a very different role, transforming it into a dynamic people supply chain. In fast growing economies like India, AI adoption, digital transformation, and hybrid workforce models are reshaping how companies access talent, boost productivity, and stay competitive. And to stay ahead of the curve, businesses are now diversifying the talent pipelines, whether it is in house teams with outsourced partners, gig workers, project based experts, automation analytics, and advanced procurement tech are helping streamline operations, predict skill gaps, and build future ready workforce. At the same time, policy is shifting. Digital tools are now enabling companies to become more agile, inclusive, and transparent, unlocking access beyond traditional markets. Optimizing people's supply chain today means more than efficiency. It calls for adaptability, innovation, and strategic foresight. As this transformation accelerates, global sourcing and procurement emerge as key drivers of long term growth and resilience. Today, with me, I have three marquee global leaders who are not only managing procurement as a function, but also delving with their organizations for their future strategies. I have Sumit Gupta here from IBM, who's the country procurement leader. Sumit drives innovation and sourcing strategies at IBM. He has been instrumental in strengthening supplier ecosystems, streamlining operations, and ensuring compliances across India and South Asia. With the focus on cost optimization, risk mitigation, and digital transformation, Sumit now leads a high performing team that delivers measurable procurement impact. We also have Amit Verma, who's a director of procurement at CBRE. At CBRE, uh, Amit has built and optimized procurement capabilities that drive cost efficiency, business growth, and operational excellence. His leadership style emphasizes innovation, cross functional collaboration, and effective risk management. Amit comes with over 28 years of experience in strategic sourcing, category management, and vendor negotiations. And we have Mudit Johri, who's the head of procurement and vendor management at CBA, Commonwealth Bank of Australia. With 18 years of experience in the global BFSI sector, Mudit excels in strategic sourcing, supplier management, and third party risk oversight. At CBA, he leads procurement transformation initiatives, leveraging technology to enhance efficiency, compliance, and long term value through high impact sourcing strategies. Thank you, Sumit, Amit, and Mudit, for joining us today. We are aware that about 23% of Indian businesses have fully implemented AI, and 73% are planning to expand its use beyond 25 and 26, far ahead of the global average of 52%. Obviously, the role of procurement is also changing and evolving on a rapid basis. As adoption of technology, digitization, automation, or I think the way all of us are working is going to change. We are just hearing a lot about how the IT services organizations are undergoing a rapid change. I'm sure all your organizations are also thinking future forward on how org structures will change, how technology will have a seat on our table. And at some point, maybe each one of us will have an AI agent as part of our org structure. Given that shift, and that's the direction that I would really like to take with my first set of questions. Sumit, as global skills demands are shifting rapidly with AI and automation, how are you as a procurement team redesigning your people sourcing models and the way forward?
So, very good afternoon to everyone. I would say on the entire telecast today. Niti, the fundamental remains that there are three major verticals within even procurement that we today talk about. One is your core strategic work that you need to focus on. Then you have got something called as uh, fast forward quick activities, transitions, transformation activities, adaptation to new tools and active actions that are required to be taken on the procurement side, which we call as a short-term projects or where you require a different skill set. And then third, a certain go forward plan, like what we talk about ECG, ESG, in terms of your environmental, social, and governance activities. So there are a lot of things which works in a procurement domain in these three verticals, and that is how the entire hybrid talent model works within the procurement domain. So for your code, you will have people or talent pool which have been there in the system. They understand the basic necessities, the KPIs, what are required to be turned around. For new adoptions, you require maybe gig workers, short time resources, talented pool who can handle transition and others. And then the third one, for the other activities, again, you will look out for a new talent or a new upcoming skill set who have an adoption and who have an understanding of the overall dynamics of the system. So that's where we look at in our current systems, how we are adopting to the new hybrid talent models. And that is how we are shifting, being more cost savings centric procurement organization to a capability centric kind of an organization.
Sumit, just a follow-up question on your response. Given so much of changes are happening in the skill sets, in the kind of people that are being hired across organizations, do you see a shift in the composition of the workforce? What percentage would be full-time? What would be the short-term contract? What probably would be gig?
I won't be able to call out any percentage or anything, but yeah, definitely, it is all based on the you can say the transformation or the digitization or AI adoption stage that every organization is in. We have adopted a lot of things. We have a lot of in-house capabilities in our own form of developments and own form of solutions, which we also get into the procurement outsourcing models. So there are a lot of things that work. There is certain portion of ratio. I won't be able to call out the percentage, but that is definitely we have these three kind of verticals of talent pools which work to support us in the current scheme of things.
Yeah. Amit, over to you. Given that you partner with lots of new companies that are setting up their offices in India, CBRE itself is a very large organization. Do you see that the traditional hire or sourcing model is now moving into more of a hybrid talent procurement strategy from a procurement standpoint?
First of all, Neeti and the team, good afternoon to you all, and of course, all the audience who is listening to us. I would actually completely resonate with Sumit's comment on moving hybrid. And I think that's where the industry is moving towards. Gone are the days when you'll speak about, okay, I want to have 100% talent on my role. And then the time came wherein people were talking over, let's go for the temp staffing, the contractual manpower. But today it is definitely hybrid. We have heard the term called asset light approach, which is generally used for the capex. Now it is like a resource light approach. So that's the new mantra where we are experiencing the industry is moving towards. And here the of course cost definitely is one of the area that the organization are looking. Any new organization which is coming to India, one of the core mantra is to see how we can rationalize, how we can optimize the cost. But the another important factor here is that while it's a resource light model, there's a lot of focus on outsourcing. So, like, we are into the facilities and property management business. We are, and I heads the procurement for CBRE. There are so many organizations which are coming to us who are asking that, okay, can we outsource our procurement to CBRE? So we are actually becoming their extended arm and helping them set up their or optimize their procurement practice, ensuring that the governance and guardrails are being protected, and at the same time the cost benefit, which is definitely one of the core area, is also coming. So I think goes without saying, it is the hybrid model. Build is required. So if I look at the strategic view, when the organization is setting up the footprints, it's important to have the build model. When the organization is like kind of done away with about 70 odd to 80 odd percent as a setup, they start moving to the borrow model, and then eventually it's the hybrid, wherein the more focus is towards reducing your own manpower, which is on your own role, and moving a large portion to the outsourcing model. So that's how the procurement and organization maturity is coming.
So CBRE has another business avenue of procurement outsourcing function.
Yes, yeah, I lead that capability for CBRE.
That's interesting. And just a follow-up question on that, Amit. You did mention about, resource light business models now. I worry what's going to happen to the millions and millions of kids who are passing out of college as we speak.
Okay, so if you look at that, so when we say resource light, it does not mean that the jobs are going to take away. No, they are not going. It is just a change of adapting to the new skill set. And in today's world, technology is the heart of these new skill sets. So you talk about AI. Last week I was attending a conference, and people were talking about the procurement transformation that they have done in their business vertical using technology. So they were talking like, agentic AI, digital AI. Imagine a situation wherein a bot is negotiating with a bot. There is no human intervention, and none of them knows that these are two machines talking. But there is someone who needs to govern them, and that someone is nothing but the resource that we're talking about. That's the new skill set which will generate new jobs. If we look back, at the time, the era of 90s, when the internet or the computer boom came into the country, people said, oh, we will not have any jobs if we start working on these PCs. Okay, because people were in shorthand that time of era. But eventually what happened, the industry actually explodes to a new era. A lot of new jobs got created. So you got to see how adaptable are we to gather those skill sets and became useful. So definitely I see a good potential of job coming our way. It's just that how flexible are we in adapting those skill sets.
I think absolutely you nailed it when you said the new skills that we have to imbibe. And with that, Mudit, I'll come to you saying, how are you ensuring that your global teams are resilient, towards the change that is happening, that they're ready, their skills are, relevant to what the market needs today and tomorrow?
Niti, thank you for having me as a panelist, and good afternoon to everyone who's listening to this. So, yeah, I think from my perspective, I give a holistic view, which is more about what we look at is mapping what are the current skills that are required, use the AI tools to look at what is the skill gap, and then invest in the upskilling of the talent. So have kind of partner with vendors who can provide that kind of skilling, or if there's a internal skill upliftment programs, look at that aspect in terms of skilling, and then also look at the gig and contingent talent who can bring in new ideas, who can challenge the legacy thinking and help in delivering some of the work, but also look at some kind of knowledge transfer from them. We are also looking at vendors and academia to look at prototyping some kind of skill pathways which can be used to look at the upskilling or the upcoming skills that are there, and look at building an infrastructure around it, which will help in the skilling of the existing talent pools. So in that way, the procurement can close the skill gaps and maintain a flexible and future ready talent workforce.
Yeah. So what you're also saying is work with business teams and ensure that you have the skill gap analysis for each of the resources, ensure that they have a learning path very clearly defined for them, and then we have the right skills, right, Mudit?
Yeah, in terms of partnering with academia, also like there are fresh graduates who can also be, looked at skilling specific to a company's requirement. So they partner with academia as well as vendors to, look at how they can build a custom designed learning pathway for, fresh graduates as well as, then rely on the gig and contingent talent as well. So skilling at all levels, that's how we'll be able to build a future ready people supply chain. Yeah.
So, Sumit, at IBM, how do you analyze the skill gap and how do you ensure that each of the employees in India or globally have the relevant skills that they are upskilled to not just today's requirement but for tomorrow's requirement as well? I mean, does procurement play a role along with L&D, and HR to doing that?
Yeah, there are a lot of initiatives or actions that generally keep on happening at a global level in terms of the procurement domain. Specifically, if I have to talk about, I think Amit already called about the build, borrow, and deployment. It's nearly the similar terms which work in most of the organization across the industries is like you build your talent pool. So you have those core groups which keeps on revisiting where you need to keep on emphasizing on your KPIs. That's a build model where you keep on having your regular trainings. Then comes your buy, which is the new upcoming. So I already talked about ESG. There are a lot of bot solutions which are at a industry level which are present in procurement. There are a lot of dashboards, the procurement dashboards in terms of analytics, in terms of doing assessments, which are going to be the future trend, which is not going to stop. It's not a small, but that's something which you have to buy. You have to keep on investing on, and you have to keep on working towards betterment. So that's a buy model. Then borrow model, which are small transitions. Now, an organization like IBM, which has been very old, it requires a shift from their hierarchical systems to the new systems, adopting to the new system. So there is going to be a lot of transition work which will be requiring. That is when we tend to do a borrowing. We tend to acquire some talent pool for some activities of transition so that things can be worked out. The other two things which I will add in this is automate and simplification. That's the new activity which I think every industry is doing in terms of trying to simplify their activities. And on the same side, anything which is on a repetitive nature, try to make them automatic, have certain questions, certain report running, certain analytics can be which can be automated where you get regular updates and feedbacks in a proper manner. And then what we as what I think Amit at CBA area has also called about, looking to deploy these resources, whatever we have where we are trying to stream size, is to deploy them on these projects where or work with certain customers who are looking to expand their procurement domain. So you there as well, the customer gets a ready-made resources which can be redeployed and where we can work. If you look at the industry in India, a lot of GCCs are coming in. There will be a lot of requirement for procurement professionals where who will be required to help build those organizations initial base, and then they will be also looking to focus more on the buy and the borrow model. So all these models that we talked about, or all these verticals that we talked about in the model, L&D plays an important role. You require training for each and every aspect. You require continuous communication, continuous interaction with the team. What is it that you have a vision of and how you're going to adopt? So there is going to be a lot of cultural change. So that cultural change again requires a lot of training and communication with the team, which can only work out with a proper internal academia or internal training teams working appropriately in their domain.
Right, and absolutely. I think what you also mentioned, and Mudit alluded to it, that are you using, set of gig workers already in the procurement teams to ensure that you meet the skills requirement that you have, or is that a way future? And I think this question all three of you all can answer because probably is relevant to all of you all. Sumit, if you want to go first.
Okay, yeah, it's a very straightforward question. Yes, we use, but again, I'll emphasize when we look at procurement. Gone are those days when we used to have purchase orders printed or send it out in a document format. Gone are those days where even invoice were paper invoices which were required to be submitted to the organizations. Now you have a QR code, the invoice is done, assessments and reviews and everything is done. So all these is tech-oriented activities which is moving in the next stage of the industrialization. For that, you require certain applications, certain tools to be able to associate with you and I would say the facilitation of the activities can be done with those softwares or those applications. You will definitely need some software engineers. You will need those application people who will understand, who will find out based on your internal compliances and policies, what can fit in, how can that be customized or modified, and that can work around. So you will always need that gig employees to be available. They may be in-house, maybe because IBM is pretty vast, where they have their own verticals of consulting, CIO, and others, where we can borrow those resources from those departments and work around.
Yeah, surely. Mudit?
Yeah, so from my perspective, I'll give a view in terms of like it depends on the maturity of the particular company. Like if there are GCCs, at what levels they are, and I have seen both scenarios where procurement teams are all in-house. There's nothing like a concept of gig work or contingent workforce in that particular aspect, though it might be for some other activities, but related to procurement, some companies don't outsource procurement at all, and then there are others who kind of do it partially, and then some they outsource some of the teams, like maybe a procurement operations teams, but maybe strategic sourcing and category management stays internal. So I would say that it depends largely on the maturity of the GCC, and how comfortable they each particular company is in terms of using gig workers. But I would say definitely when big projects or construction of new offices comes into the picture, there is a likelihood of having somebody from outside kind of hired to lead, and then in terms, then the only point is that how much knowledge can be retained, because those project team will definitely go away. So the more focus is on how much can be retained so that the in-house team isn't capable to do that going forward.
Neeti, if I may add to Sumit and Mudit, the way slightly different perspective to it, and hearing the industry expert from the GCC perspective, like I myself been a GCC player for over 11 years. So I've seen the journey wherein the entire build is at the GCC level, then moving slowly to the buy model or the borrow model. But now the new GCCs which are coming, the majority you would find that they are not coming 100% on their own. They have hired a third party in between who is consulting them that India, as an example, is the right place to be in for these kind of XYZ processes, and it can yield the ABC benefits to you, which aligns with the organization goal. When this layer coming in, this layer is even talking that we will help you not only set up a GCC in India, we will even help you execute, we will help you run if you want. And then they are the people who are hiring these people, which becomes a borrow for the shared services or the GCCs. So that's the evolving model which is coming. And again, coming from the same perspective as I mentioned earlier, the governance is very, very clear. In this case, the GCC is very clear that these are my guardrails that needs to be adhered to. And these are the cost parameters that they have agreed, which could be a fixed price or whatever, hybrid price. And within those guardrails, those services needs to be delivered. So eventually what is happening, maybe the GCC is having a very, very thin layer of procurement manpower who is governing this internal layer, or the company who is helping set up that center. So very, very evolved, very transformed model, I would say. It's very popular in the Western side. This is real. In India, it is now gearing up. There are companies who are coming on these models. Today, if you say that, okay, I want to set up an office. Let's not talk about even GCC. So an office setup of, let's say, 100,000 square feet area, they will say, okay, grade 1 construction, grade 2, grade 3 construction. And this is my per square foot price, which will cover all these packages. These are the specifications, period. No discussion. You just agree a per square foot price, and work will be delivered in the agreed timelines. Imagine, earlier we used to negotiate each package individually, negotiate, run the RFP, purchase order management, XYZ. Today, there is nothing of that sort, because you have a visibility. How does that price look like at the aggregate level? You block that price and then give this outsourcing to ensure that the work is happening as per the defined timelines. So you play more of a governance role rather than an execution role. That's the transformation which is coming.
And absolutely, I think GCC as a service in India has become a reality already, right? And
Yeah.
players like you, Amit, are, obviously taking this way ahead of the curve. But, that brings me to my next question to you, Amit, is when so much is happening and there's just, like you said, you're also taking in outsourcing function of procurement for a lot of your customers. How do you identify the right vendor? Let's say we'll stay in the realm of talent for now. Okay, if you're looking for a talent partner, what would be the matrix that you will basically look at, deep diving and ensuring that they are the right partners to fulfill the requirements for you or your customers?
Okay, so there are a couple of things, Niti, that plays a role in the vendor selection. The basic understanding of the company, what they are doing, what is their setup, since when they are into the business, which is definitely is an exception to this startup, because we do promote startups as well, wherein there is nothing of that background with them. So startup is a different stream. Then we talk of the financial strength of the organization. Because in our business model, you need a lot of capital to ensure that the work is moving. If there is money that need to be deployed, they should be able to manage that funding in place. Third is on the compliances side. Are they really compliant? Because today, and again, these are my personal opinion, I have seen companies dying because of non-compliance. I mean, they are doing very well in terms of their business operating model, but they have really gone almost zero because of the any taxation query, any GST query, or an income tax query. They had to wipe out. So compliance is something very, very critical. Today, we are talking a lot of focus on insurances. So does the company have any such background, any such thing in past wherein those policies have been kicked out? And that gives a lot of, and there are companies who are available who do this kind of research for you. Then we talk about the ESG. This is the buzzword for India, but very soon, in my opinion, it's going to take a front seat. The day is not far. So how the company is focusing on the ESG, and connecting to this is something. Even if the company is doing very well in all other parameters, if ESG is low, we see this as an opportunity to partner with the company. And if they are connecting to my organizational goal, I see this as an opportunity to work with them to bring my best practices for them so that they imbibe, and that eventually becomes a win-win solution. The reason being, for this supplier, they are learning ESG, they are building their base. which will be good for our country. At the same time, it's a win for me because I have got my own organizational big goal on ESG. It helps in my global reporting as well. So we see this as a win-win perspective from the metric perspective. Now, another very important factor is today's is the world of networking. I think a word of mouth coming from a trusted source plays a very big role in deciding yes or no for a supplier. And so today, if one of my client says that I'm looking for a supplier in XYZ thing, and if they have trust in me, I will use this company. Believe you me, 99 out of 100 times they will go ahead. So it's a networking world, but the important is from where this thing is coming. When we speak, it means it has already crossed these guardrails, these checks and balances. That's why we are talking about this. Today, we are experiencing a lot of WhatsApp group, professional WhatsApp group. So you get a lot of information. And again, basis the confidence level on the source of information it is coming from, that plays an important role. So these are a couple of areas that helps us ensure that the decision that we're taking on vendor is appropriate.
Yeah. Sumit and Mudit, is it any different for either one of you? Is there something very peculiar that you look for when you're signing up vendors or suppliers for your organizations?
I think Amit has kind of summed it up, every aspect that we look at. So yeah, I think mostly this is typically what we look at: the overall credentials of the vendor, their references, their positions in terms of governance, and how they are perceived in the market. So I think yeah, pretty much on the line. Yeah.
Nidhi, I'll just add one thing. See, one is getting into a new organization. Second is sustaining within the organization, how you are growing. So you might, through references, through your links, you might get the first project. But to continue to work with an organization, the first and foremost thing that we look out with our suppliers is how much deep understanding do they have of our sales solutions on what is it that they're going to support us. Today, or in the past these years, what we have always seen is partners pitching based on their capabilities. They're not looking to pitch based on what could be the actual ask of the organization. So that's something which everyone has to always focus on. What is that customer is moving forward in? What is it that could be the need of the customer? And can we actually look to supply the demands or the requirements for the customer? So that is one thing which we always look for the first conversation. That's the striking note from any supplier to make a proper connect. Second thing is when I'm talking about the sustenance of any supplier in the system is how much that they are spending on their own upskillment, their own transformation journey, what percentage of their revenue that they are really looking to invest on themselves, and how they're fast adopting to the new changes in the entire ecosystem. Because if they are able to adapt fast, they will automatically continue to be associated, or they will have a long-term relationship with an organization. So that's something, and it will depend. So like for any partner, there will be a lot of customers. If a supplier is fast forward or fast thinker, they will automatically have a lot of pitch points for each of their customers in terms of having a deep in-root relationship building. So that is something that every supplier or every partner should look into, that how they are looking to develop and look to be an aided partner for any of the customers.
Sure, and I'm sure as IBM, when you or your team goes to the customers, they're probably also looking at similar features, right?
Yes.
How ahead of the curve are you compared to other people that you're going to talk about? Quite interesting. And are there any specific KPIs, Sumit, that you work on with, for IBM vendors and partners I'm sure you have hundreds and thousands of, partners and vendors that you operate in. What are the kind of KPIs that you would typically look at?
KPIs are more or less the same, which have been in the past. Few additions that everyone is looking out for, and I would say each of the customer. One, previously we used to talk about just in time. Now everyone talks about yesterday. So if there is a project, you should have been able to deliver it as of yesterday. You should be able to. So that's a kind of impromptu setup that you should have. We used to have benches with a lot of our partners. In the past, there is no more concept of bench. No one can afford. That's not the running model. So your in-house capability, what is it that you are planning for the future, plays a very important role. So for it's not an KPI, but it's always a good dialogue to have with a partner in terms of what is their innovation contribution, what is it that they can bring on the table, what is it that new that they are working on. So that's the most interesting part for me and my colleagues in procurement to understand and strike a chord with the supplier. So KPIs. Still, I don't think they're very clear established KPIs for ESG or right to competency or the time that they are going to take to complete a job. You cannot have set standards, but it's the striking the discussion is the most important part, which will happen with more of innovative thought process that the suppliers are going to bring on the table.
So,
Yeah,
Neeti, if I may,
yeah.
while we're talking KPIs here, so I was in a discussion and something very interesting cropped up, and I found it to be very, very relevant, and I picked it for myself. So they said we often speak about that. What is your vision for next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Every organization do that. When we speak of our supplier, have we ever asked them that what is your vision for next 5 years? Where do you see yourself in working with us as your business? And I saw that as a big hollow that I don't think that we had these kind of discussions with the supplier. And I think this is where the true partnership, the next level of partnership comes and play a role here. I see with supplier that they are our eyes and ear when it comes to industry. I'm not sitting in market all the time. I can't be, globally. These are my suppliers who brings that the latest industry insight from various sources. Unless I'm having those conversation, I don't think that we are doing justice to each other. And that's where the another root of innovation lies. The present era is a joint innovation. I have a problem on the table. I'm not able to solve it. Why can't we solve it jointly with the supplier and see what best outcome can come? Of course, we got to be very intelligent in picking those supplier with whom I'm going to invest that time. I think that's the skill set, coming from Sumit's perspective that we need to have. Am I picking the right supplier to have those kind of conversation? Otherwise, I might be, betting on a horse which is not going to win. So we got to be careful in deciding that, and that's where the skill sets will play an important role. So that's another KPI which I personally feel, in my opinion, should be taking a seat in the overall procurement.
Yeah, I think what both of you are bringing to the table is very relevant that, we tend to forget that our partners, suppliers, vendors could probably be living, breathing organizations themselves. So what Sumit was saying is what kind of innovation they are bringing to the table is very important, and what kind of people we work with, whether, you talk about compliances, governance, just the strengths that each of the suppliers, vendors can bring is very, very important for us, whether it is domestic suppliers or global suppliers. And I'm sure each one of you all are, dealing with many global suppliers, as we speak right now. The challenges are different across geographies. And Mudit, do you see, any kind of, and I'm using diversity, not DEI really, what kind of diverse partners, vendors, suppliers do you think would be a right combination, for you as a procurement leader? And how do you give equal access and opportunity to all your partners, let's say for a talent or for a learning partner, just a case in point?
Yeah, so definitely, I would say that we kind of look at, the different, let's say, start with geographies where there is less representation, kind of do a sort of a heat map to look at, functions or, services where, we have underrepresentation. Then kind of when we are looking at RFPs, we definitely put that criteria where one of the criteria would be in that space that, we are able to have diverse suppliers and give more weightage to diversity aspects. That is one thing that we can look at, and the other part is also to kind of include this diversity clause in the vendor contracts as well, that even in terms of when we are hiring talent pools, those things are also kind of recorded in the diversity aspects. The other thing is also to partner with different NGOs, universities, or community groups, which can help us in sourcing of those kind of talent pools, and also be part of certain organizations, or I would say some network groups, which can help us in sourcing vendors as well. So maybe some women enterprises, or medium small micro enterprises, those kind of things. There are various definitions of what constitutes diverse vendors in different geographies, and that could be looked at to kind of enable and seek out and invite them to the various services that we have, and then have that weightage kind of built in the system. So I would say that, and again, use different kind of tools to also do that outreach, use of AI to look at what could be the new trends in how we can include diverse vendors and colleagues into the overall vendor base and workforce.
Yeah, and I think diversity is not just gender diversity, right? I think we're beyond gender diversity in terms of, the kind of people we bring in, geographical diversity, cognitive diversity,
Yeah.
and while, yeah, I mean, maybe giving it as an ask to the partner or a vendor, it's one way of probably, meeting your goals. But both Amit and Sumit, is there anything else that you do to ensure that vendors and partners are able to help you meet your diversity goals? And here again, like I'm saying, not just gender diversity, but probably other diversity aspects as well. Sumit.
So,
Maybe you start. Yeah, go ahead.
okay, so so let me share and this is industry agnostic. This is not something specific to my organization. Uh, there are different other layers that can be seen from a diverse supplier perspective. Like there is a lot of focus on the women entrepreneur organizations. I mean, that's one very, very core focus area. Any military veteran owned organization, there is a big focus area towards that. Startups may or may not diverse for some organization, but I see them as a diverse because startups which are bringing sustainable solution, green solution, helping the environment. For example, if any supplier is bringing a green chemical, green cleaning chemical, to me, it's a very, very good area to be focused upon. So I see them as a diversity. Okay, so MSME in India is very, 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 very prominent, and I am a personal advocate for this league that we must promote. Make in India, made in India, made for India. Why not? So these are a few of my thoughts from a diversity perspective.
Yeah, and Sumit, I think you've been calling out ESG, during our conversations. So what exactly is your diversity, thought, and how are you taking it forward within IBM?
See, I think I'll pick up something what Amit already called out in terms of the overall setup of your supplier strategies and how you look into your working. There are major 5 areas. One, in terms of labor employment, everyone should have that free chosen employment, avoiding child labor. So there are certain parameters, unset parameters that everyone has to follow. Then you've got health and safety of employees. So how do you take care of to-be mothers or already women employees within your organization, the illness, the industrial hygiene, basic stuff. Then we talk about the environmental. How do you, as an organization, how do you take care of pollution, waste management, water management, air emission controls, anything that is associated. It is industry agnostic. It has nothing to do with be IT or non-IT, because at the end, if there is an electrical shortage, you are still going to be using a DG. So this is going to be a very common topics that we generally talk. Ethics, what are business integrity, intellectual property protection, your fairness, privacy and data protection, and then your management systems all around in terms of training, communication, feedback, any process internally which you have for RCAs, if there are any identified issues, how do you tend to resolve it? So your corporate instructions or corporate guidelines that you would have established. Now, when it comes to new organizations, we become the kind of trainers or educators, where we tend to support, guide them all along, and we take all these partners along through our transformation journey. Right. The important point what Amit called out, we are always open to any organization who is looking forward to these areas, trying to bring something innovative on the table. There is no pausing, no stopping. That innovation is something which will undermine versus the criteria that the supplier is new, old, or has just come into the system. The most important criteria, I think every industry is looking out for the new innovation. What is it that they can do to transform, and where they can move from the current level to the next level in the organization structure. So I don't think in the current scheme of things, we can continue to work with the same supplier set. You have to be always open, adding more suppliers, because the new partners which are coming in the scheme of things or in the entire market, they are very agnostic towards all these current practices which the large corporations are following. And they are developing their entire solutions based on these ideas, thought processes, and other things. So adding any form of a supplier, be it as what Amit said, the women-based diversity, minority group, war veterans, you have to be open, because innovation, it has no barriers. It can be brought in by any organization, anyone in this entire system. So you have to keep your doors open. You have to always look to facilitate, and it is both ways. The way where we look to work for innovation with our partners, we also try to educate them. There are a lot of new laws wherever we have. I'm pretty sure both Amit and Modi's organization would be also training a lot of their partners in terms of what new thing. If there is a new understanding of the taxation laws, there are certain things which are required to be implemented. Every supplier has to raise their hands, and they have to agree, okay, yes, we are there for the acceptance of these changes with the formulation, and we are ready to move forward. So DEI is no more a term. It's a basic activity which is required to be facilitated and to be imbibed by each and every organization. So I don't consider that it is, and you can have your internal targets. The better the targets organization have, that means you have a very high focus on those activities as a overall society building and overall environmental building activities that you will have internally.
Yeah, but with so much changing and obviously technology adoption, procurement processes are undergoing a overhaul. How do you see the function, changing shape, and what shape would it be, let's say, in the next 5 to 6 years time frame, by 2030? That's question one. And question two is, how are you preparing yourselves and the teams to be ready for the shift that is already happening? I mean, this is an open question. Any one of you all can take a stab at the response.
So I think from my perspective, definitely AI is one which is like, AI and innovation is at the forefront, and certainly, as was mentioned earlier, we have to be on the bus and not let it go while we watch. So definitely a lot of adoption, and a lot of technology adoption that we need to be comfortable with, advising our teams to be on that bandwagon and the journey, familiarize yourself with the tools that are coming up and how they could be used in the overall scheme of things, be it any process that we are working on. So I would say that, yeah, there are different tools for different kind of activities. Maybe you have to make a presentation, or you have to do like some repeated task, different things, and I would say that technology is going to play a big role. It is like, if the persons who know how to use technology and AI will be at the forefront. So I think that is how we need to shape our organization and the teams accordingly.
And if I add to Mudit's point, which is besides technology and AI, I think another important would be the financial literacy. So today, this is something which is important for any procurement person to be aware of. We talk about the matrices, reporting dashboard, which is good, but how deep, how intelligent you can be in picking that information from the big data. That is something which is becoming important. Take the example of the current global uncertainty, wherein there are overnight sanctions coming in, and you have got tariffs in place. So if you're not intelligent enough financially, because generally it's the finance team, the controller, who are seen as, okay, what should we do? But the feed will have to go from procurement, from sourcing, that guys, this is the alternate that we have. If we do this forex adjustment in this manner, should we buy locally in the local currency? Should we buy in US dollars? Should we buy in pound? Should we buy in euros? So this intelligence will have to come from the procurement. That's why I call it financial literacy. It is extremely important in the skill set in the folks who are coming into procurement. Then another thing is the commercial curiosity. So we all know that, okay, that this is the commercial, we do some breakdown, but how curious are we to understand that breakdown, so that we pick up the thread that, okay, this is where the opportunity lies. And I think one of the best example that I can think of is, you pick up Zomato startup, and today they are a multi-billion-dollar market capital. Okay, so they just picked up that, okay, I'm gonna pick up the ease for the consumer to have food at their doorstep. And now they're saying, okay, we will do that in 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and as quick as maybe 10 minutes. So they pick up that one thread in the entire chain to see this is where we can add value. That mindset, if we apply to our large deals and say, this is where if we do this minor tweak, it can yield a very significant value to us.
I think,
So
Amit, you're bringing up a very relevant point here, saying that data and understanding of data is very important for any procurement person, right?
absolutely,
That's really
absolutely.
where you're coming from, and how do you understand data? Analytics of data is equally important. Do you have data analytics people in your team, Sumit? Or each one of you
Yes.
all
Yeah,
have
we have a dedicated. So to summarize and then to give a little perspective additional to what Mudit and Amit called out, for procurement domain perspective, how we are seeing the journey. I don't think if you look at the source to pay model, the entire gamut of the procurement from the scratch till the end moment, I don't think there will be any transactional procurement activities to be done by humans will be left out by 2030. Most of those transactional activities Either it will be completely outsourced, where it will be some other entity organization which will be doing for a core organization, or it will be completely 100% automated and those activities will be taken. Now let's look at what is going to be the driving factors, right? We are going to talk about exceptions. We are going to talk about strategies. We are going to talk about supplier relationships. We are going to talk about ESG, the collaborative work styles. That's going to be the future that we will have. Generative AI, chatbots, agentic AI solutions. These are going to be the new future for procurement in terms of doing any kind of a contract drafting, any supplier due diligence, stakeholder collaborations. The example that Amit talked about, that we will have a lot of consulting organizations giving feedback to organizations in terms of the GCC setup. Today, you go and put up a proper ask a question with ChatGPT or any other automation tool. It will give you a complete business proposal what you're going to be adopting into. So we will see a huge transformation in the next 5 years. There is a lot of scope for even the procurement professionals to expand their knowledge. I would say to add or to flavor the point that Amit called out, it is the analysis of the data, because you will still have dashboards, you will still have a lot of things. Understanding structure versus unstructured data, that's going to be still human intervened activity, because you have dump of data available in every industry. Only a human can understand what is structured, what is not structured. So all these tools are going to work on what kind of a dump of information that will be given to these tools to work on. If it is not structured, the information that is going to flow out is not going to be relevant. So that activity will still remain human intervened in terms of assessing how to have it more structured and bring a value out of this information.
Absolutely. And I think the skill sets required for procurement leaders is also undergoing a rehaul. I mean, my last question, given, we are just about 3 to 4 minutes before closing time, is what kind of skills, should a aspirant procurement manager or leader possess? How do they prepare themselves for the roles probably y'all are in right now?
I think, Niti, we covered it to a larger extent in our conversation. If I summarize that, you speak about the AI collaboration with AI, how to
But
use that.
let's say we have a youngster, as a 25, 30-year-old, he or
Yeah.
she is looking to get the role that you are in right now. How do they prepare? How do they skill themselves and be ready for the 20, 30-year-old Sumit just mentioned, it's going to be completely different from what all of us are seeing right now.
Okay. See, so one is people who are getting into outsourcing. That's one bucket that Sumit talk about. I would call that as a downstream procurement management. The second bucket would be strategic, which is you are saying sourcing, which cannot be replaced by AI. And this is again my personal opinion. It cannot be a negotiation which will happen across the table. It can never ever be done by a bot. The emotions, the individual pressure, the stress, okay, the human touch, it can never be replaced by AI. So in strategic, if I look at, because Sumit spoke a lot about the downstream, if I speak about the upstream, which is strategic sourcing, data is something very, very important. How you play with that, how intelligent are you in picking that information to your benefit. Second, how agile are you when you're sitting on the negotiation table? Are you understanding the other person's state of mind? Are you making a win-win negotiation, or is it a win-loss or loss-win? It has to be a win-win. Okay, so that's another important piece. The third is global know-how. How globally are you aware of the things which are happening? we speak a lot about, this country is failing. What should we do? I've got a lot of dependency on China as an example. So people are talking, let's say, China plus one strategy, China plus two strategy. You can only speak on those lines when you are literate, when you are aware of those market. Financial literacy, we spoke about, something very, very important. How to play with, I would use the term play to be precise, how to play with technology. You have got big tools lying with you, big ERPs lying with you. How good are you in culling out information from them and making to your use? So these are few things which are like a must have for the new folks who are coming into procurement. And it's a journey. It will not happen on day one for them. Like you mentioned about the age bracket 25-30. It will be a journey for them to reach at a certain higher level in the organization. And that grilling initially would definitely be required.
Absolutely. I think even I think that's the direction one would take. Mudit, would you like to add anything to what Amit and Sumit have mentioned?
I think they have summed it up really well. I would say, yeah, like, you have to get your hands dirty. I guess anybody with all the tools and anything that is there, you still need to know how things work. You have to be there to do things on your own, like analyze the data or, run a procurement project, run an RFP, do it yourself, see how, you scope the service, how you solve the problem, how you talk to the vendors. So all those skills have to be developed, and then you can use these tools to kind of create that impact that needs to be done. But yeah, you need to at the end of the day go through the grind before you kind of reach there. Yeah, I think that's pretty much from my side.
Yeah, I've been actually making mental notes, and I, in a way, have a page of attributes that probably future global procurement leaders will, how they will shape up and look like. And I'm probably going to put that down and send it to all of you for your feedback. But I think it's quite interesting. Obviously, digital literacy, which is nothing but AI and agentic AI going forward. Financial literacy, of course, the human touch, that's not going away. I guess compassion, but understanding the laws of the land, understanding where, the whole global awareness is equally important. I think the whole people conversation is not going away. Amit, you did mention bot to bot negotiations. I hope we get to see that day when one bot wins over the other.
It is happening in Western world.
Yeah, but I think in India, let's see how quickly I'm sure some of you will bring that up, and we'll start seeing case
I hope
studies.
so.
Yeah, but as we all say, AI is not taking away jobs, but somebody who knows how to work alongside AI will. Likewise, in the procurement function, also, I guess we're getting to that direction. Lots of changes, lots of rehaul, but the way we work with vendors, partners, whether it's in the talent space or the learning space or any other space, I guess that's obviously going to keep changing. But we have to be out there, we have to learn, we have to upskill ourselves and be prepared for the future. But yeah, so I think that's really my takeaway. I'm sure lots of people are making notes as well, and probably going to reach out to you for more lessons on how to be better procurement leaders. But thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Anytime, available on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much for your time. It was wonderful talking to all of you all and understanding the world of procurement. I think it's been a great learning session for all of us. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Neeti, Mudit, and Sumit, and of course the audience. Though we are not talking, it's like you are the bot, but that will also become real when the time will
Very
come and
well.
we can see face to face. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you so much. Good day. Bye.
Thank you, Niti. Thank you.